This game is fun. Wait, didn't Cartoon Network already do something like this? Cartoon Network, a television network that aired nothing but cartoons, and many of them are fairly iconic. However, our story begins in the beginning and the end of a decade. The year was 2009, and Cartoon Network began the dark age of the series. See in real. The time when Cartoon Network wasn't airing cartoons. Well, technically, they were still in a way, though this was the darkest age of the network. Luckily, in 2010 of the new decade, Cartoon Network's resurrection began, bringing some of the best cartoons of the decade, including Adventure Time, Regular Show, and eventually Steven Universe. CN Real was dead, and Cartoon Network realized their mistake, and that mistake made them realize that their cartoons were more than enough to keep the network afloat. And I'm guessing someone at Cartoon Network asked a really interesting question. Who do you think would win in a fight? Grim from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy? Or Mac and Blue from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends? And then Cartoon Network realized they can make some money off this, considering Nintendo has been doing it for decades. Thus was the birth of Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion. Now, a lot of people will probably be asking, why am I not talking about Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl? Well, a lot of people are. In fact, a lot of people already got free copies of the game and are doing reviews of them as we speak. And now I can probably hear in the comments right now saying, "Ooh, unlucky AngelStar, why didn't you talk about this in October?" There's actually a multitude of reasons. For starters, Cartoon Network did it first. And second, I'll go into explanation when I talk about the console version, which most, if not all, of the footage will be used for this review. But we have to start about the origins of the game, which was on June 22nd of 2011, when it launched on the Nintendo 3DS. The game was developed by Warner Bros. Games, who also developed the Batman Arkham games, and Mortal Kombat, and many other Warner Bros. Licensed games. I mean, it's literally in the title. And Papaya Studios, who's actually made a good handful of Ben 10 games over the years. And the publisher was Cartoon Network Interactive, the gaming company responsible for all the Cartoon Network games. At least from the 2000s to the 2010s, at least. Though you can probably tell from the game itself, yes, this is a Smash Bros. Clone, so if you know how to play Smash Bros., you know how to play this. I am playing this on the Wii U, so I can't really go into many control differences on account of, well, I'm playing with a Wiimote on my Wii U, and GameCube controllers are non-compatible with Wii games, even though some are actually compatible with Wii U games. It's very dumb. But if you've been living under a rock and don't know how Smash Bros. Works, basically you beat up characters and they take damage. The more damage they take, the higher they get knocked back. If they fly off the screen, it's a KO. You can also collect these little cubes that'll actually fill up a meter, and you can actually activate a super attack. There are a multitude of variety of attacks you can do. Standard attacks, which are usually punches and kicks, depending on characters. Super attacks, that are usually super moves based off their special traits of the character. And the super attack, or the Punch Time Explosion. Now, considering this is a crossover between Cartoon Network's biggest cast of characters, obviously you need a good collection of characters. And believe it or not, the 3DS actually did have a good handful of characters, totaling up to 18. Starting the list, we actually have Ben 10 in his teenage form, referencing the universes of Ben 10, Alien Force, and Ultimate Alien, his archenemy Vilgax. From the world of Chowder, we have Chowder and Kimchi as a singular character. From the world of the Powerpuff Girls, you have Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup, each as their own separate character, who actually play fairly different, surprisingly, and their nemesis Mojo Jojo. From the Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack, you have Flapjack and Captain Knuckles. From Codename Kids Next Door, you have Number 1 and Father, Sector V's archenemy. Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, you get Mac and Blue as a singular character. Dexter's Laboratory, you get Monkey, and of course Dexter. The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy obviously give you Grim and Billy and Mandy as a singular character. Samurai Jack gives you, well, Samurai Jack. And lastly, a secret character I'll say for the important part of this video, the story mode. Yeah, this has a story mode, believe it or not. Considering this is a crossover of Cartoon Network All-Stars, what better way to start off the intro than actually watching cartoons? Well, the narrator of Cartoon Network is actually narrating on his day off for some reason, and for some reason he's also watching Cartoon Network. However, most of the cartoon universes are somehow in deep peril. It's almost like all the cartoons are either being erased or merged into one. And it's up to our Cartoon Network All-Stars, starting with Ben 10 as your first playable character, and recruiting other cartoon characters and helping to save the cartoon multiverse. Now, I guess I should probably explain one big thing about the characters that are in this roster, and I will generally admit the roster is actually pretty good for Cartoon Network All-Stars, with some exceptions. And I think a lot of people can generally say what I'm going to be talking about. Or in this case, who are we missing? When you think of Cartoon Network, yes, a good handful of these characters are a good roster choice, but there were also a few characters that were cut for content. These inclusions are from other popular cartoons like Courage the Cowardly Dog, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Cow and Chicken, and if you want to do somewhat modern, you could have even included Generator X. Though the inclusions of characters like Mordecai and Rigby and Finn and Jake would still be fairly early, but there's actually a big reason to this. And that would have to be due to licensing. Basically, the studios who were behind developing the game had a limited time to get all the licensing to all the characters to be playable. And due to a strict development time, getting characters like Courage and the Eds would have actually delayed the game even further, which is why you don't actually get to see them playable, which is kind of a shame considering they're some of the most iconic characters in Cartoon Network. It is a bit of a disappointment to see why these characters were included in time, but sadly this is one of those potential universes we live in. In another universe, Courage and the Eds are playable. Anywho, moving on to the story mode of the game, believe it or not, just like Smash Brothers, it actually copy-pastes its own story mode. What I mean being the Subspace Emissary, as you actually choose a good handful of Cartoon Network characters, and you navigate through the worlds of the game, though I will generally say, Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion does it slightly better. What I mean is, unlike Subspace Emissary, there is a good variety of the gameplay with characters, as well as the enemies in the game. A lot of the minions are actual characters within the different parts of the shows, or obstacles just to get in the way to best represent characters from different worlds, such as Grabbles from Chowder, Vilgax's army, those imaginary friends Goo made by pure accident. The list kinda goes on. Not to mention there are a few mini-games in the story mode, referencing FPS's, Angry Birds, and even minecart levels from Donkey Kong Country. And I actually had a lot of fun with this, though there are some missions I am not really a big fan of. Mostly the ones where you have to protect a specific character, like at the beginning of the game, you have to protect Mung Dal from Vilgax's army. Or the worst mission in the game, you have to protect Cheese of all characters. And you're up against JoJo bots and those spider robot machines from Samurai Jack. And trust me, this mission is annoying. But after a lot of the characters have been united, saving the last world, Samurai Jack's for last, obviously it's Samurai Jack, they finally find the source of all the evil. And it turns out it's a television remote. Not just that, it's the narrator's remote. And he manages to capture our heroes, who showed they had the fire, the heart, traverse the earth, the water, and with the breaking of wind and their powers combined, the last character available, Captain Planet, comes to save the day. All because Chowder farted. Yeah, there's no easy way to say that, that's a little goofy, even for Cartoon Network standards. You basically choose your favorite characters, though if you want to play as Captain Planet, you can do that too. You fight the remote boss battle, which is actually pretty enjoyable, and with the evil defeated, everyone turns to their restored home, and the narrator kicks back and watches some cartoons without a TV remote. But other than that, that's Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion on the 3DS. But this is usually the part where I actually say this is the end of the video, right? Wrong. Though the 3DS version is the first version, it's sadly not the best version. That's mostly due to limitations of the 3DS at the time. The fact that you have a Smash Brothers-like game on the 3DS before Smash Brothers 3DS, ironically enough, that no one was really interested in playing. I don't think there was online play in the game. Also something pretty noteworthy, not every character who voiced the original cast return as playable characters. This is also mostly seen through characters like Powerpuff Girls and Flapjack. That's mostly because I think most of them were played by Tara Strong, who didn't really reprise her role for some reason. Until the console versions. So let's talk about Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion XL, which was released on November 15th on 2011 and released on the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and the Nintendo Wii. And if you're reading the date correctly, yes, by the time this video is out, it'll have been officially 10 years since Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion for the consoles launched worldwide. And I think a lot of people were more excited on this one as it was bigger and it was better. That's mostly due to the fact there's actually more content in the console version. There's now an additional 8 new characters that are playable, including a younger version of Ben 10 based off the classic Ben 10 series, Paz Delgado from Billy and Mandy, Toiletnator from K&D, and Scotsman from Samurai Jack. And returning from the 3DS version are Johnny Bravo, Aku from Samurai Jack, Kevin E11 from Ben 10, and him from the Powerpuff Girls. Now you're probably asking, wait, these guys weren't playable on the 3DS. Where do they come from? Well, one thing I kind of missed on talking was the items in the game. There are a variety of different Cartoon Network based items from a multitude of shows that are in this game, and there's also an assist cube that actually has characters who will help you out, including Fred Burger, Dee Dee, Gazpacho, and the characters I mentioned, Johnny, Aku, Kevin, and him. The console version also added more assist characters, like Madam Foster, Major Glory, Valhallan, Number 4, and General Scar, and a new technique, somewhat similar to the punch time explosion, but it's a little more random, called a synergy attack. And I actually find this concept pretty cool. Basically, if a specific character gets a specific assist character, you'll actually get a super attack similar to, well, your super attack, each having a unique different theme and style. And quite a few of them have some really interesting surprises, such as Flapjack and Dee Dee doing a crazy super dance, Chowder eating Madame Foster's cookies and then rolling into a ball, Katamari style. My personal favorite is Peppermint Larry giving Mac candy, and he goes into super sugar rush mode, which is actually a thing that actually happens in the show Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Though there are some weird combination of team-ups, but I think that's one of the most unique things about Punch Time Explosion. Not only that, the game also adds more content like a shop, where you can buy the extra characters and new stages like Mandark's Lab, Mount Fondoom, Candied Island, the Moon Base, and the bedroom from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. You can also buy an alternate costume for every single character playable in the console versions, with quite a few of them being references to actual moments in the show, though some of them I'm still skeptical on. Though, just like the 3DS version, there was a lot of development problems with the game. Turning a 3DS game into a console game is not easy, and apparently there are quite a few glitches found in the game. I didn't really find any during my playthrough, but I recommend checking out AlphaRad's channel back when he did Smash Bros. Content, like not Smash Bros. Content, where he actually found a buttload of bugs. When doing research on this game, apparently there exists some audio and icons of potential playable characters like Mandark, Schnitzel, Gwen Tennyson, Sticky Beard, Wilt, and the remote control, revealing there were potentially going to be playable characters in the game. Though most of these characters were turned into bosses or assist characters, and Wilt's only seen in some parts of the game, which is a shame because I really like Wilt and I thought he would have added some really cool stuff, like saying sorry every time he hits someone. Also, there exists a Professor Utonium 3D model inside the game. Not only that, there is also another big component to why Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion wasn't as big as what Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl is currently giving. It's competitiveness. That being that there are characters that some people will prefer to play whether they're good or not, but the big problem is a lot of characters in Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion are broken for the right reasons and broken for the wrong reasons. With some of the most broken characters being characters like Aku and Blossom, the game itself did get mixed reviews, of course being compared to Super Smash Bros. And yeah, Smash Bros. Is still the superior version, considering that the hit detection and knockback is on par with Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U. Which is funny considering that didn't happen until a few years later. And some people just don't want to come back to it because it doesn't seem that competitive of a game. But in the end, Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion is a Smash clone that isn't competitive. It started off on a handheld console that was still fairly new that no one was really buying. It didn't seem to have online play. It had some strange knockback and glitches, a roster missing a good handful of Cartoon Network characters that should have been playable, and a game that's honestly kind of fun to play with friends. I've never really played Smash Bros. For the competitive side. I mean, I'm very terrible at the game. My mains are King K. Rool and Piranha Plant. You could probably take a guess how good my skill level is by that. But I had an enjoyable time with the story mode, the gameplay, and all the nice little references it had within the Cartoon Network universe. Heck, I wouldn't even mind if sometime in the future, Cartoon Network made a sequel to Punch Time Explosion, adding more characters from classic Cartoon Network to modern Cartoon Network. Of course, adding Courage and the Eds, Steven Universe, Uncle Grandpa, Finn and Jake, definitely Mao Mao. But who knows what Cartoon Network is planning on doing in the future, and I don't really know if Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion is really on the top of their list at the moment. But to end this video, I have one important question to ask. When's Disney gonna make a Smash clone?